Greetings, friends. This is Dr. Richard Marcs, and welcome to A Murder Most Foul, The Life of a Hitman, a reading of my unpublished novel in chapters. I hope you'll enjoy it. Chapter 4. Then, Quivering a Life. Play tragedy. Play twilight time. Take me back to Tulsa, to the scene of the crime. Bob Dylan, Murder Most Foul, from his album Rough and Rowdy Ways, 2020. I've never told my life story to anyone, but since it doesn't matter now, I guess you can be the first. And let me add, I'm not looking for pity. It is what it is. I was born, got you there. Actually, I have no idea when or where for that matter. The first notice of me in this world was on October 10th, 1948. I was dropped off anonymously at Calder Orphanage in Weebling, Oklahoma. There, since it was just me, and since I appeared to be about 7 months old, they decided my birth date was May 10th, 1948, and someone at the orphanage named me William Weebling. Fucking Billy Weebling. What a douchebag name. I'm glad I only had it for 14 years. Well, 14 years and 3 days. I was in and out of orphanages and foster care until I was 14. That's when it all started. I learned a lot in these homes, the most important thing being how to survive. The second most important was trust no one. And third, there's no such thing as a free lunch. In fact, nothing that's real is ever for free, and you just gotta pay for it sometime. I got into a lot of trouble as a kid. I didn't have anything, so I did a fair amount of shoplifting. I was angry and violent. Any punk ass who called me Wee Willie Weebling was gonna get a beatdown, and many were administered. I figured that since I had had such a shitty life, I was entitled to make up for it by misbehaving. When I was 14, I finally got sent to a foster home near Tulsa that specialized in so-called problem population. There I was one of 8 kids living with my foster parents, Mr. and Mrs. Frederick Krause. The Krauses were what we foster kids call foster vampires, people who house foster kids only for the money and spend as little as possible on the kids. The problem is, the Krauses weren't only in it for the money. They were actually pretty sick fucks. I was the second to oldest to my foster sister, Gabriella. Gabriella Azura was a year or so older than me. The other 6 kids were all under 10, and the duties of taking care of them fell to Gabs and I. The kids loved Gabriella, and why not? She was very pretty, with dark cinnamon-colored skin, and her laugh could take away so much of the pain of being a foster kid. It was like healing music. At 15, it was already obvious she was turning into a knockout. It's no exaggeration to say she was slated to become divine. We became close friends, partly because we shared the same shit lives. I remember going into a really nice department store, Van Devers, and Gab saw a purse that she fell in love with. The purse was really expensive, I think about $12, so very much out of our price range. Van Devers was the kind of store where you knew you were being watched by security as soon as you walked in. I took that as a challenge and went back a few days later and shoplifted the purse. When I gave it to Gabs, she gave me a big hug, which felt great. She asked how I could afford the purse, and I told her I got a 5-finger discount. William, that's not appropriate. You need to take this back to Van Devers. As humiliating as it was, I returned the purse the next day. When I got home, Gabby gave me another big hug and said, "I'm so proud of you, Billy." I guess I was a little proud of myself as well. Because of her looks, Gabs attracted a lot of attention. People assumed she was American Indian, which wasn't a good thing in 1963 Oklahoma. In school they called me Injun fucker, assuming that our relationship was sexual. It wasn't, sort of. Even grown men would say the most disgusting things to and about her. I remember she and I were at the Easy Shop near the Texaco station, and a couple of guys stopped me and said, "Be careful that maize muncher don't try to scalp you when you're eating her." I punched the dirty old man in the mouth and got the shit kicked out of me by him and his Okie friends. On our walk home, Gabriella called me her knight in shining armor, and running her fingers through my hair said, "I have no intention of scalping you." She laughed and kissed me on my bloody cheek. "Now we have a blood pact, an omerta." "A what?" she said, licking the speck of blood off her lips. "We will always be together." I knew that wouldn't be the case, but I wished it would be. When we got home, Mr. Krause asked what had happened. When I told him, he used his belt on me for causing a ruckus. A couple months later, Gabriella came into my bedroom in the middle of the night. Well, it was the room I shared with 3 other foster boys. She came in and she was crying. "What happened?" "Can I stay with you tonight?" "Sure, but what happened?" "Nothing that hasn't happened before," she said as she crawled into my bed and put her head on my shoulder. I guess I wasn't worldly enough to know specifically what had happened, but after Gabriella stopped crying and fell asleep, I realized how soft her hair was, how wonderful it smelled, and what it was like to have her warm body pressed against mine. This was a whole new world. I was enthralled, yet embarrassed at how my body was reacting. I didn't sleep a wink that night, but kept a vigil on my princess. The sunrise revealed her black eye, swollen jaw, and a split lip. I swore when I find out who'd done it, I'd make them pay. That night also started a strange shift in our relationship. Nothing overtly sexual ever happened, partly because, in a funny way, we considered ourselves to be brother and sister. Foster children psychologically crave a sense of belonging so much. I think it explains some of my later behaviors. The familiar way we had with each other wasn't really flirting to us, but anyone else would have seen it as such, and it obviously angered the Krauses. There were times when I would admit I would hold my stare a little too long, and when Gabriella saw it, she would say something sarcastic like, "Why don't you take a picture? It lasts longer," or, "What are you looking at?" If Krause caught me, it would usually mean a smack in the face, or a more humiliating kick in the crotch. Gabby, for her part, would sometimes sneak into my room at night and then tell me about it the following day. When I asked her why, she would respond that she just liked watching me sleep. One of my fondest memories was the game we used to play, Big Race Fridays. We both attended William Murray High School. Gabby had tried out for the cheerleading squad, and although she was far more coordinated and athletic than the other girls, and far prettier in my opinion, she was told that it would upset the uniform look of the squad to have one girl stand out. All the others were pasty semi-blondes. Instead, she went for track and field. Watching Gab's run was incredible. She was so smooth and fast. She was like a panther. I held my own playing lacrosse. The Krauses never came to any of my games or any of Gabby's meets. We were our only fans. Every Friday we had to take our gym clothes home to wash, so Gabs and I would skip the bus and race each other home. It was about 3 miles, and Gabby always won, earning me the nickname Slowpoke. Now, could I have beaten her? Sure. But the greatest thing in the life of a 15-year-old boy was running behind Gabby in gym shorts. It was obvious that Mrs. Krause hated having Gabby in her house because of the attention she received, and would often give her horrible chores. Mrs. Krause resembled nothing as much as a dish rag with a head. I noticed Mr. Krause getting more handsy with Gabriella. I started to feel more and more angry. I guess in a way it was jealousy. But every time he put his dirty hands on her, using some stupid excuse, it got to me. I had the feeling that things were about to boil over. They did, in a big way. The Krauses were religious fanatics long before we used the term Jesus freaks. Mr. Krause used to hold a little prayer meeting every morning at 7 a.m. after the morning chores were done. We were all so exhausted that sitting was appreciated. It wasn't so bad. Other than Sundays, it was only about 5 minutes. The worst was that at the end of the services on Sundays, Krause would ask if anyone wanted to be baptized. If we chose to be baptized, we wouldn't get caned for our sins before bed. All the younger kids went with baptism, but Gabriella and I held out. Mrs. Krause would cane me 5 times, then Mr. Krause would cane Gabriella. Both of us bare-assed. What's obvious to me now, the Krauses were getting aroused by these weekly blessings from the Lord. One day Gabriella cracked and agreed to be baptized. All 3 of them went out to the barn that served as a temple. I was supposed to stay in the house and watch the kids, but I was worried about Gabriella. I hid in the barn and watched Mr. Kraus make her remove her clothes. Then he dunked Gabs in the basin that served as a baptismal font. He held her under way too long, and she started thrashing. As Mr. Kraus pulled her up, he screamed, "You red Jezebel, you reject the water of the Lord!" and slapped her hard, splitting her bottom lip. He kept slapping, and Mrs. Kraus joined in, screaming, "Fill this engine with the Holy Spirit!" I wasn't really surprised. It's what I expected from these freaks. But Gabriella was wet, naked, and screaming. Kraus was unhitching his belt, and I knew from experience what that meant. Gabby had a horrified look on her face. She also knew what that meant, although I imagine it meant something more vile to her. I came out of my hiding place, grabbed a shovel, and hit Mrs. Kraus hard in the face. She went down like a sack of potatoes. She didn't look dead, but I knew she wouldn't be getting up any time soon. Mr. Kraus hit Gabriella in the face with his giant turquoise belt buckle while screaming, "Shut the fuck up, you dirty little whore!" He caught her right on the temple. As the blood trickled down the side of her face, he turned to me, ready to strike. I was quicker, and the blade of the shovel caught him right in the throat. Unfortunately, the follow-through of his belt caught me on the bridge of my nose, turning my nose into a blood gusher. I doubted he would survive the jab to the throat, but gave him a whack on the head with the flat back of the shovel just to be sure. He didn't move, and the gurgling told me he was a goner. Gabs was in hysterics. I wrapped my arms around her. I was very aroused, and that bothered me. Was it the naked girl or the murder that was turning me on? "I think he's dead, Gabby. He can't hurt you anymore." "Thank you. We have to get out of here, Billy. Please take me with you. I'm begging you. I love you." She reached her hand around the back of my neck and pulled me close. Before I realized what she was doing, she kissed me. Her tongue found mine, and it felt like I was hit with 1,000,000 volts of electricity. I could taste the tinge of iron as the blood from my bloody nose and her split lip ran together. It was the first time anyone had kissed me like that. The best friend I had ever had in my horrible, pathetic life just told me she loved me, irrespective of the fact that I'd never been felt by anyone, and especially loved by such a beautiful and sweet girl. I knew that I couldn't go on the lam with Gabs. She would draw too much attention, and running with two people would be so hard. I didn't want to put her in danger. "I'm sorry, Gabby. Just tell them that you fainted. I'm a murderer, and they'll never believe me if I tell them what happened." "Billy, don't leave me. I love you. Remember our omerta?" Other than the blood trickling down her face and her bloody split lip, she was perfect, standing there wet, naked. "I'm sorry," I said, and turned to run. The sound of her crying out my name in my ears was agonizing. "Billy, take this." She reached into her pile of clothing and pulled out a necklace from her pants pocket. "This is San Cristoforo. He protects travelers." I had seen the little gold medallion with the red G painted on the reverse in nail polish many times when I would sneak a look while it was hanging between Gabby's breasts. For that alone, it was holy to me. But now that she had given it to me, it was beyond divine. "It will always be next to my heart," I said as I again started running. As I ran across the field, every lesson that Gabby had taught me about right and wrong evaporated with every stride. I heard her say over my shoulder, "We'll meet again someday." You never know where the road not taken would have led you. Dirty old Mr. Kraus and William Weebling died that day, as I almost never used that name again. What became of Gabriella? The memory of her turned into a ghost. I wouldn't see her for another 16 years, and then just by accident. But in a way, I guess you could say that was my first contract. William Weebling contracted me to kill Fred Kraus. Mission accomplished. Here's the thing. Did I enjoy killing Kraus, or do I enjoy killing anyone for that matter? No, not really. Kraus was hurting my friend, my sister. I did what I did to protect her. I would have died for that girl, so it wasn't much of a stretch to kill for her. But now I've come to view killing as a job. It's a job, and one I'm quite adept at. I can count on one hand, well, maybe two, the people I've actually enjoyed killing, even if some of the people you hit are easily identifiable as scum. Not that I ever got to actually know many of them, but there's no pleasure in killing them. It's the planning I enjoy, working things out, down to the closest detail, ever mindful that there are so many variables that can go wrong. The successful completion of the plan is my payoff. The fact that somebody dies is just an indication that the plan worked. And yes, there are people I regret killing, but 99% of them I never even speak to. Sometimes the person who takes out the hit, or the murderer once removed as I call them, asks me to deliver a message. Sometimes I just tell them, I'm a contractor, not a messenger service. Or I'll tell them, it's another charge. But if giving a target a message adds any danger to me, fuck that. Besides, my client will never know. The other request I hear most often is, make it look like an accident. I'm a killer. If you wanted a set designer, go to Hollywood. And how about killing, the 10 Commandments shit, mortal sin? I could try to justify my actions by saying I'm only killing the body and the soul is immortal, but even I don't believe that bullshit. Here's the thing. I don't believe in God. I don't believe we have souls. I imagine there's no heaven or hell. I believe that the living are dead and the dead live. See, they made me read Heinrich Boll too. But seriously, we do what we do, then we die. Done. Over. If someone hates another person so much that they're willing to pay to have them killed, I've got no moral qualms about cashing the check. That's only a figure of speech. I only accept cash. We all do things for money that we would rather not. That is wildly enough, except for me. Now you can be certain there are so-called hitmen who get turned on by killing someone. Fucking freak psychopath. Screwballs with their twisted fetishes. These are the hitmen who, 1, always get caught, and 2, give us professionals a bad name. Well, I guess killing people for money is what gives us a bad name. So I guess I'm a nihilist, or as Hamlet says, there is nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Moral relativism comes in handy in my line of work. Come to think of it, it probably does in yours too. Are you honest enough to admit it? Thank you for listening to A Murder Most Foul, The Life of a Hitman, copyright 2025, as read by me, the author, Dr. Richard Marcs. A new chapter will be posted each week. A Murder Most Foul is produced and recorded at Batavia Studios in Jakarta. This podcast and A Murder Most Foul, The Life of a Hitman are solely works of fiction, and any similarities to persons living or dead are merely coincidental. The music used in this podcast is the second movement of Franz Schubert's Piano Trio in E-flat, Opus 100. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please feel free to email me at drrichardmarcs@gmail.com. That's drrichardmarcs@gmail.com. If you enjoy the show, please like and subscribe to the podcast and tell a friend. Thank you, and until next week, be more than you seem.